Okay. Okay. Good evening, viewers. This is Vishwanath here for Winning Edge Talk Show. I am a mental conditioning coach for athletes and the author of Success Mantra in Sports. To many, attaining a very higher qualification and getting into a top corporate job would be the ultimate dream of their life. But so some, that's not enough. They want to do more. The guest of my show this evening is one such person who wanted to do more for herself and to her community. So, at the age of 35, she took to long distance running. Today, she is well known for her distance running and fitness and is a very popular person for the community service she does. Her achievements in the field of distance running would make anyone proud. It's an honor to welcome her to the show. Mrs. Bhumika Patel, welcome to the talk show.
Thank you, sir, for the kind introduction.
You're most
Very-
welcome. It's a pleasure having you on this evening. It's wonderful. Thank you. Mrs. Bhumika Patel is a six-star world marathon finisher. The six-star marathon majors event is popularly known as the Abbott World Marathon Majors, and it requires a runner to finish six of the largest and most renowned marathons of the world, namely the Virgin Money London Marathon, BMW Berlin Marathon, Bank of America Chicago Marathon, TCS New York City Marathon, Boston Marathon, and the Tokyo Marathon. Now, to talk about more of our achievements, let us hear from Mrs. Bhumika Patel herself. These achievements have made Mrs. Bhumika the brand ambassador of IBM. She has founded the Guide Runners India to help underprivileged, visually impaired girls in running and fitness. Her community service has been a great influence that has helped transform the lives of the disabled and the underprivileged. She is also the coach for Pinkathon, a women-centric marathon event. So, without much ado, let's talk to Mrs. Bhumika Patel. So, welcome to the show once again, madam. So, madam, there will always be some reason for us to start something new. You started running at the age of 35. What was the trigger? Was it due to some incident in your life or for health and fitness reasons? What was it?
Um, so in 2009, I was married. My daughter was about 6 years old, and I was in Bangalore. I was doing this routine life of going to office, coming back, and on weekends we used to go out for a movie and go for eating out at the restaurant. So that was a typical life, and yeah, it was. Then there was this. It so happened that my health, my parents, and my some of the close members in my family were facing health issues, and at the same time there was also work pressures, and there was also this marriage and child and so many of these things got all around me, and I was really struggling with every small thing appeared to be very challenging. So at that point, I lost my dad to a heart ailment, and I just couldn't bear the loss. It was somebody who was guiding me throughout and always there. So like the pillar of support. And at that, even at 35, I was not so confident enough to just take a decision on my own. And we were brought up to be very shy. You need to be within the circle of so known people and not to venture out too much outside. Unknown things should not be attempted. Let's stick to the known route, and those kind of like a corporate job would be good. And those, so I was always on the low risk kind of a route. And I lost this my mentor, who was my dad. So it was a big blow, and it did affect me a lot. because we were very well sheltered from a lot of these challenges which are in life. We brought up very protectively, and so there it opened up to me a lot of things, that there are so many things I need to do apart from the challenges I am facing currently. So then I was just struggling. I had no solution, and then my um, husband said that I have started this activity called running. Why don't you join me on a weekend? Just come with me to the place where I do my workout training with my colleagues at work. So why don't you just join me? And this is where I thought, fine. So if he's saying that it's working for him, let me try. And I would go there, sit there, and not do anything and just watch them, because I was obviously very shy in whatever they were doing, from whatever has been told to us, that as a corporate, you go to a corporate place, then you got to be in mm, there's this etiquette for wearing clothes, etiquette for talking, and here we are talking about a Western complete changeover of outfit, and you are also doing things which are not your typical the corporate things. It was new, the corporate fitness thing at that point. So that, yeah, so it was this trigger
Madam,
of
continue. Go ahead.
it was this trigger,
Continue.
so it was this trigger of the lifestyle diseases that I saw, and then trying to life was. So this is where I picked up something like this, and it was not by choice. It was like I was an accidental. So it was
Yes, ma'am. Continue.
yeah, like I was saying, I was an
Yes.
accident. Accidentally, I reached this stage because of the circumstances. But there was
Okay.
all
So the no.
throughout childhood there was always potential, and I always when I used to participate in sports in during childhood, I used to always win, and there was no structured training or rigorous workouts in childhood. So I knew that there was some potential which was there in me, which I had not explored to my full. So this point I realized that, yeah, it is going to, it's not too late, it's never too late to start.
Very nice. So the inspiration came from your husband, and it was not very difficult for you to adapt because you were already good in sports and outdoor physical activity. Oh, very
I
nice.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Apart from that, were there any challenges you faced while you took to distance running, like any beginner would face?
challenges, in terms of challenges at that point 10 years ago, is what we are talking about. There was hardly any women out there on the roads, and it was very and even forget women, even men runners were very few out there at 5 o'clock in the morning, or even 6 o'clock. You won't see, like in an area like Kormangla, it's a few runners would be visible. Kaban Park, maybe the known areas, but most areas you will not see anybody out there in the early morning. And there was a designated spot in the city where, like a stadium, Kantilwa Stadium, or some an outskirts where the runners are meeting up. Those spots you will see these fitness people out there doing this running activity, but it was not. So it was quite challenging, because then you have to plan the such that you got to go to that spot where they are meeting, and just outside your house, or to save time and things. It was not something that I would consider doing it alone, because safety was also was a concern. I was, apart from being shy, I know for sure that it is not safe for women to go out like this when nobody is out there early in the morning when it is very dark. So that was the thing, and the attire itself was quite Western. Like, there was no concept of running in a sari or running in a Indian attire. And at that point, I just wanted to be fit. It was not a competitive initially. It was not competitive. So, but the first thing I noticed was there is change of attire to something which was we are not used to, uh, as an Indian woman who has been brought up with so much of traditional values and in the Indian setup. So that was a difficult task, and the way people look at you, that, oh, what is this?
I
So
understand.
this is not a typical mother, doing these typical things and stuff. So there were quite a lot of perception and um, other challenges, overcoming your own challenges, and also how you were perceived and things like that. So it was quite challenging.
Obviously, with all these challenges, you would have needed a lot of support coming from the family. And obviously, your husband was a pillar of strength because you also done marathons with him. How was the support coming from the other members of the family?
Yeah, so my father-in-law would always accompany me to the races early in the morning. If it was very far away and from the place where we are staying, then he most of the races I remember him coming with me. And my husband is always there for the marathons that I have done over the last 10 years. We have planned all the races. Like if I'm going to Delhi, we both are going and we are both doing the same distance. Initially, when I was not into full marathons, I was doing the shorter, like the 5Ks and 10Ks, and he was doing 10Ks and 21Ks. There was a difference in the distance that we do, but now we are both in the 42Ks, both similar distances. Yeah, so family has been very supportive. So my mother has been doing a lot of support in terms of helping with the breakfast, dinner, and those other things which I don't need to then I won't have time to do in the morning if an elaborate one. But obviously, if everything that I did was very well, it was very elaborately planned, and I stuck to plan. And sticking to plan is extremely critical, even for your own confidence also. So it was very critical that you plan that tomorrow morning is the run. So you got to prepare ahead that these are the things that I need to do much ahead, so I leave home and so it will still be taken care of. So a backup plan and my family member support is very critical if we have to do this successfully.
Yes. Planning is very, very important when you have to do something day in and day out. So
Yeah.
planning your activities, your schedule, and everything. I'm sure many would have asked you this question. How did you manage between distance running, your corporate job, but then your family, running a family, raising a growing daughter? How do you
Um,
manage all this? Yeah.
so initially, when I started my very first race, I had won. Every race that afterwards I subsequently went into, I was typically different from probably many of the other runners. I went into competitive racing straight away, and every time I was winning, so family was feeling really proud about it. And at the same time, my workplace colleagues also got to know that she's representing and she's winning. So we had many corporate teams which we formed. So I saw this as a good synergy that if you're doing something and you take along your family members and your colleagues along with you, it will make your things easier, much easier. They will understand what you're doing. And I also believe that doing it alone is very stressful. I feel very motivated when doing this activity as a group. So I always look for chances to do a team race, a team relay, team race, winning in team events. And so my as a company, my company IBM where I work, we had in for TCS 10K, for example, we won the best performing company 3 years in a row. And in those same years, I was also doing individual competitive races at national and world level. So it's not just individuals. So the team was achieving a lot of things. So it worked out well for me because they were proud. Both sides were proud, and it all worked out together. So it was good.
Great. Yes. Yes, sir. We know that you are a six-star world marathon finisher, but we have not heard about your other achievements. When was the first time you won your a race? When was the first time? Can you describe the feelings and can you tell us about your other achievements apart from these six-star world marathon finishes?
Yeah. So I just opened a document because I may not remember everything.
Okay.
Okay. So my first race was 2009.
Okay. Take your time. Take your time.
Yeah, in 2009 was my first race where I did a 4 kilometer race, and I got the first place. And thereafter, I have done the same race next year with a higher distance. So the entire year I trained for a bigger distance, 10 kilometers, and I won the first prize there. And then my husband also he had won with me, and in 2011 again we won the same race with 21 kilometers, and both me and my husband won the race. This is the Wipro run. At that point, he's still working with Wipro, and in 2012 I did the Asia Masters for 1500 and 5000 meters, and then I went on to Asia Masters was in Taiwan. Then we had the Masters at Brazil. In this was the World Masters Championship in Brazil in 2013, and at the same time, I have also won several of the races for Pinkathon, where I represented as a corporate team. My company won 3 years in a row again, and 21 kilometers we won several times. Then the first full marathon happened in 2018, and that was the Virgin Money London Marathon. So until then, I was into the masters level races where 5,000 and 1,500 meters was my distance, and I consciously did not move to road racing at that point because the training is completely different. And this race, 1,500 and 5,000, was on the track. So it was a very conscious decision because at that point I was very uncomfortable going on to the road and doing road racing and training on the road. Here, compared to that, you have uh, a thing where you are inside the stadium in front of the coach. He is watching you and everything. So it was very different. It's a different type of training, and I was very comfortable. So although running and marathon running was going on in India at that point, road racing had started, everything, but my over to road races happened very late. I think about I took a few. I did very less, like one race in a year, which was on the road, and the rest were all on the track initially. So 2015, the actual full marathon when I had to do that is when I realized that what am I doing with the track race is not going to help me in full marathon. Like my entire training cannot be on the track, and I need to be out there on the road. And by then, I had finished 21 kilometers and with a good time on the road. So I knew that I need to spend more time road running because I need to do the long runs and things. So London Marathon happened. So I switched over from the track racing to full marathons from 2015 onwards. After London came Berlin Marathon, which was in 2015 again. Yeah, it was 2015. So then came the, if you're talking only about World Marathon majors, then I will name only those. Otherwise, I have done other marathons also apart from the six, which are international. 2016, I done other races which are not part of the world majors, like Frankfurt Marathon. 2018 was the Tokyo Marathon, and 2019 Boston Marathon and New York Marathon. Two to finish. So 2019 November was when I finished the six world majors.
Okay. What attributes you have noticed in yourself that has helped you to achieve so much in running? What were your
Well,
strengths?
yeah, what I feel is that you need people should not wait for something which is tragic or bad to happen in your life and then get into an activity which will, like a or fitness activity. You got to start it very proactively. And so in my case, the drive was always there. The drive was always there, but there was no opportunity initially because there were so many other things which were of importance. And definitely financially and a career and a woman needs to be financially stable. they need to be earning for themselves and stand on their own feet, and then get into some of these other things, so you have more confidence. Otherwise, if you have extreme dependency on somebody else, then it's become very difficult. So I thought 35 was a good age where I settled down in some of the areas where I could then take up a hobby with a bigger, with a lot of focus. So I knew that there was a drive, but I just thought, and I saw that this is an opportunity at this age, and I thought that this is not too late, and I stuck to a scientific method, and I definitely had mentors all along, and it was not a job which was randomly done just because I want to do it and I want to just kill it, and I have the drive and I'm going to finish it. But if you have to go with a plan and a lot of systematic planning. Like I said earlier, sticking to what we have planned is very important. And how do you stick to plan if the plan is scientific and you know that it is based on certain methods which will give you results? Then you have the confidence that, oh, yeah, this is the right thing to do. And so for that you need the experts and the mentors. So the experts and mentors both at work and for this hobby which I had taken up with professionally also. So that played a very critical role, and family support obviously. Family gave a big push.
Many would be going through the same situation right now, that they would have wasted the earlier years. They couldn't pursue their passion and fulfill their dream because of so many life challenges and obstacles. Now you're an inspiration. You're shown them that even you can come back later and fulfill your dreams. So you are such an inspiration to the others. Yeah. How has running helped you in improving your quality of your life overall?
Um, in terms of quality of life, there has been a lot of improvement because um, yeah, I have my time management. So with the planning, my entire week has is scheduled so because we do this activity with my husband, I do this activity. So as a family, I need to sit down and plan with my daughter what are the exams that are coming up, what is the project work that is coming up. So our marathon plan is overlapped with the work plan, and we see that everything is adjusted. So and also the quality also improved because I, I did not register for every event which was coming on my way. There were only 2 events in the entire year that we did. 6 months of one race and 6 months of the other race. And the goal was very clear that there has to be a personal best or an improvement every race that you do, and which I achieved over all these 6 races that I've done. There has been an improvement over the previous timings, or there has been an improvement on certain other parameters, but the goal has been met. So in order to reach the marathon goal, I structured other things that were not important, which I was doing, which I had never documented or which I never thought was wasting my time. I thought about it, and uh, there were there was a good amount of planning that I did, such that the better utilization of the time is what I would say.
Okay, so you mean to say running helped you all along when you started achieving, it would have helped you a great deal in your life, especially raising your confidence. Then in the beginning of the program, you told me that you were a bit shy, and people also reported that you're a bit introvert and spoke very less. How did the running change all this?
Yeah, so initially I was quite introverted, and there was confidence definitely was much low, and definitely I was a backbencher. Like somebody asking me to speak, I would really not be so confident to talk about. Even though I did well, I was not able to project what I did well to others. So that personal branding and those things were unknown at that point, and that you need that how important it is that you need to present what you have, what you are capable of doing well, so that you are growing further. So that I found was although I had so many skills, I've not put it together to the right use at the right time. And how do you project it to the people at work, and how we project it to people around you, who can benefit from your skills. So that part really made a big difference. And um, yeah, so your question was,
In terms of
did I
raising your
answer that?
confidence, making you
Yeah.
more expressive, improving your communication. Yes, yes. Hmm.
So you cannot be in a race. In a marathon teaches you to be um, like so mentally, emotionally, physically strong, and you got to give your best. Otherwise, it will show. Even if you are cheated on any small parameters, even if one small training you're cheated on anything, it will show up. You will not get the result. There is no cheating out there. It's all out in the open. That what did you do in those 3 months? You did the right things, or what went wrong? If you sit and analyze, so there was this analysis which was happening with all the failures that even so so that analysis really helped in terms of every training in a week. If I have 3 days of running and 2 days of yoga and strength workout, or a nutrition diet plan which I had to follow, something did not go as per plan, then there was a good amount of analysis that went into that week. And why did I go to I was feeling very sleepy in office after this workout, so I need to switch over on an important day. I need to do something alternate. So there was very good amount of analysis of failures at the um, even before the race started, even before the race, so in the training period. So that really helped overcome a lot of the challenges. And like I said, I used to ask a lot of questions to people who were mentoring me, and then to the any experts like nutrition, and even nutrition, yeah, physiotherapists. I used to. It doesn't help being introvert and not talking, not opening up about how you are feeling. You got to be talking about, listening to the body, and what are you feeling. You got to continuously talk. So that communication is very critical with yourself. Communicate with the people who can help you. Communicate with your family that this is something coming up. I need help. You need to point out at the right time and get the right help, and do whatever, but get the help. But if you keep your mouth shut and not do anything about it, it's going to show up as an injury. It's going to be showing up as a big failure. So that part is not going to work. That being introvert, me myself, and I'm going to just do things with my limited knowledge, it's not going to work with this. You got to be opening up, and it may work with some people who can read up from books. It is a very few cases, but on an average, a person who is struggling, um, this is what helps, that you keep communicating and getting help. So confidence has built up, and then you understand that even though it was a mistake on your part, even though it was difficult and I could not do it, um, it is definitely, there is an opportunity to there will be another opportunity where you can prove yourself. So don't be disheartened by failures. So that
Yeah, it
so
taught
now
you how to deal with setbacks and failures. Yes, how to take
definitely.
accept things as on a face value of what came towards you. Yeah.
Yeah, so what was challenging earlier was no longer challenging. It was quite awakening.
Okay, great. Tell us something about Guide Runners India, which you have founded, and about your stint with Samarthanam Trust for the Disabled.
Yes, so Guidelines India was something that I know. A guide is somebody who runs with a visually impaired, who assists a visually impaired to achieve their goal, helps them with the training, and they are the eyes for the visually impaired. So this idea was, I got to see that in one of the races in 2015. I saw visually impaired coming to this race where they were doing a 3 kilometers run. So most of them were walking, and that's when I realized that since I was coaching regular women, then what about these people? Are they going to come to this race, and then are they going to just go back? And now we are talking about many about women and so many of those runners who are facing work-life balance issues, struggling. So somebody who has everything in life, who has all the God has given everything. Then they are saying that it is difficult for me to do this activity where of a fitness activity or running. They are saying this. Then what about these people? And the enthusiasm was no less. They were really like equals. They wanted to be out, they wanted to be wearing shoes. But in India, what I saw is that most of the population that comes from disabilities, they are from needy backgrounds. They are poor families, and so the we cannot even imagine that in order to do an activity like this, what are the big balance active acts they have to do. And there are hardly any people out there, volunteers. The structured volunteering was not there. Although there were so many people wanting to volunteer and come forward, and okay, there was a lot of pity, that there is a for somebody with disability, and we feel pity. We give away too many, our wardrobe full of clothes to them, and wardrobe full of you have shoes, so yeah, I will give away 10 shoes and that's it. There was a lot of pity and empathy, but in terms of long term giving them some volunteers gave
Moral support and mentoring. The moral support and
meant,
mentoring was not there.
yeah, that kind of a thing was unknown. So it was just a
Mm.
one event thing. There was no such thing as a continuity. And we are talking about even corporate people having good salaries, everything, who can afford trainers. They are also not having continuity in of stress, and money is not helping. So and these
Mm.
people have, it was a big gap. So
Okay.
I started uh, talking to the runners, fitness people who came to me for training, that I'm going to teach you. I will teach you, but you will pay it forward by becoming a pair, a guide to somebody who needs help. And that worked, and they felt really nice after looking at someone like this. They come back to themselves and think that, okay, so this person I was paired with has so much of potential, and they look up to us so much because I just spoke. Gave them a knowledge which was, I thought that I knew nothing, but actually that other person appreciated what I knew so much. Like the just telling that you can, drink water as soon as you wake up, eat fruits in a day. That small advice that each runner was giving to the visually impaired on the as a pair, they appreciated everything they spoke. So all of these people who were training with me, they felt very good that what they learned, they are able to impart to somebody who needed, and that built a lot of confidence in both the. It was we thought that these are the people who need help, the people who are persons with disabilities, they need help, but actually we got a lot more help than for ourselves. So it was both ways. It was working both ways. And so
Very
I
nice.
structured the entire thing that there were trainings for how sensitizing the people on how they can be paired with visually impaired. So I was training not just the blind but also the people who want to become a guide. So there were two separate types of training, and we have achieved Indian records in marathon running and ultra marathon running. By 2019, we have done about 3 to 4 Indian records.
Okay. So, oh yeah, that's the success you had with visually impaired girls, especially.
Yes,
So they have completed their marathons and ultra marathons. Any of those who have completed their marathons, the full
yes. So
marathons?
yes, they have completed.
Great.
So we, after starting in 2015, we've been doing a gradual progression of distance, and we had identified a set of people who would go into more rigorous training, and the parents were informed, all the stakeholders, their NGOs they were working with. We got their consent, and the athletes themselves signed a consent form that they are ready to comply with this kind of a training schedule, and they have no objection. That kind of a program was then initiated with experts, and there were many people wanting to do health, orthopedics. There were sports doctors from the US who came forward. So it was like an elite athlete training that we did, and towards the we did the Bangalore Marathon 42 kilometers, and best time was 3 hours and 45 minutes for the visually impaired for the full marathon. and the guides were also trained to. If we did not find the guide who did the entire 42K, then the distance was split between 21K and 21K. So there was an exchange point. So everything was planned with the organizer, and there was no time goal given initially to them. There was no pressure that you need to be running very fast. There was a huge enthusiasm to finish 42. They really wanted it to do it. There was no pressure when we said that if you feel not okay, even you can abandon the race. There is no pressure. So there were couple of them who finished 40K, and then once that was successful, then we moved on to a higher distance with the subset of those people who finished 42K. And they have done 145 kilometers between Mysore to Bangalore over a period of 3 days. Um, and that again was an Indian record, yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. Running is catching up in a big way in India, especially so in a city like Bangalore. Even the elderly want to take up running nowadays. What tips you want to give them? What care they need to take? What is the kind of food they need to have? And how to get go along with their physical conditioning so that they can strengthen their core muscles and the muscles involved into running. What tips would you give them? Because nowadays everyone wants to take up running, but without proper training and without proper care and precaution, they may get into injuries. What would
Yeah,
you
so,
tell the people who want to take up to running? Yeah.
so what you're saying may have been applicable like until December or January. There was a huge wave of people wanting to do this. Now with the COVID, everything has come to a stop.
Yeah.
So so if many people wanting to take up running, but they are afraid to get into races and things, and even I've spoken to multiple international organizers, asking them what would be a stand that if a race, would you ask people to register for a race which was on the ground and people are coming and meeting in thousands? Would you do that now, right now? And if the date is probably, if the date is in January, February next year, would you say that? I mean, I was asking the people who work with blind in the US. I asked them that, will you tell your runners go register for a race? So they said, we will right now not give any advisory. We will just say that stay fit and observe the ground level situation and what happens in terms of regulations that come out in your ward. What are the instructions given out for gym usage? What are the at a country level the regulations are different, and every state has different, and at every area the regulations are different. So in terms of outdoor sports and all, maybe probably you'll have to check the regulation in terms of. So elderly are definitely not going to be going out right now. As far as all the advisories I have seen, they've been, even the apartment people are not allowing them outside. So if we are talking about a 50 plus, uh, uh, even if they want to do inside the home a rigorous activity, or they want to run from one balcony to another room and come back, and people, I've seen 42 kilometers being done inside the house also. So it's not necessary they can go out. They can also do it on the staircase. You go up 5 buildings and come down five floors. Even that can finish. You can finish a full marathon or a half marathon that way. But at that age, there is a limit where balance between very typical balance where you tilt the balance towards something overdoing. It's not going to be more injurious. So actually, with any age group, when we start the coaching here, we do the assessment. So firstly, right now with the COVID conditions, there is an extra assessment added, wellness assessment. Anybody who is elderly is going to be, we do a wellness check that are they for the mental fitness, and are they alone? Is there anybody to support them when they are locked up in their house? And is there any kind of financial crisis? Is there any crisis? Any such thing? If you're talking about somebody who can afford everything, but they are not able to go out, that is one scenario. There's another scenario where somebody who is not able to afford because they have lost the job and they are sitting at home. So we do a wellness check. And is the elderly getting medicines? Do they have anybody to supply medicines? And are they locked up without any support? So those kind of a check we do. We do an assessment. and I have my guides who we don't work only with the visually impaired now. Right now, with the current crisis, we also do anybody who wants help, like a needy person coming, needy elderly couple comes to us, say asking for help, we will not refuse. So we started this wellness assessment, which is very important. Even somebody not having facing does not need a buddy. We call them buddies. We have paired them with buddies. So every elderly is paired with a phone buddy. So you're not going to go to the door and knock the door and ask that, are you fine? We're not going to do that. We're doing it virtually on the phone. And this has really worked very well because elderly are looking for somebody to call and talk. And if we identify a red flag, then we have rehab professionals who will say that this person requires our help. And after, if there is no wellness red flag, then we do the exercise assessment in terms of there is assessment like how is the balance, body balance on a right leg, on the left leg, and then how is the glute strength, what is the parameters. So for anybody who is above 50, 45, we would say, I would say for all age groups, you have to do an assessment, understand the current fitness levels. And after understanding that, and given that there are no medical conditions that you have, then you can take up an activity which does not hamper your current health conditions. If you do not understand your body in terms of these parameters, and you simply jump into something because now someone said running is very good for me, or 42K is a lifetime experience, I will just go there without knowing that what are the things that I already have, the current state, then it would be a big mistake. And this is going to be a periodic assessment. It's not going to be one time in once in 5 years. It's going to be periodic, depending on what your current fitness level. So that if you are the right expert, if you are a mentor, they can really catch the thing, some kind of a thing which is going to injury which is coming up, or you're doing some mistake. They will catch you and they will point out that this is you need to correct right now. So that will really help.
Good. So, what were the mental challenges you had to face as you started taking up bigger competitions, bigger challenges internationally? When you were raising the bar, expanding your horizons, there must have been a lot of mental challenges because raising your performance, always aiming for better timings or bigger races, would have been challenging for you mentally. What were those mental challenges? How did you overcome those?
So initially for me, for 4 kilometers was a marathon. Like I used to say 4 kilometers is enough. That was like too much. And it was, I never imagined going to a 42. Really at that point, it was unimaginable. But then I saw that I was doing well in a race like this, and somebody said, how many days will you continue with that short distance? Can you try this other distance? So it's like training the mind. You're saying that this is fine, you did it well. Now you take on the next challenge and don't give yourself too harsh uh, goal. So start small, give small goals, achievable goals. You know that 10 kilometers sound intimidating right now, so don't give yourself a goal of 40 minutes 10K right now. It's not going to work. So it is a failure will have a very detrimental effect. So give a goal which will be nice to achieve, because it's not going to be the first time and the last time. There are many more such races that you can, so you know that their opportunities are there. So you're not going to lose anything by not achieving a goal, but by not achieving a tight goal like that. So you got to give yourself achievable goals. So what I meant was, if you're not winning the race, nobody is going to come and scold you if you're not winning the race right now, because you're not a competitive athlete. You are into it because of your passion, and it's a hobby. But if it's a competitive athlete, then definitely a goal would be really an important one. Like my coach would have really told me that, how come you got this kind of a time? Your time was much. So that thing you'll have to discuss with the coach and say that this race I may not be able to do well, and because these are the things. and also you understand that they come to an understanding and to set a goal which and you should have a valid reason why you're not doing it right now, and we come to a common goal. So that goal planning has to be there always, goal plan. And so I did that kind of a thing where small goals and then achievable goals. And when I went into 42 also, I used a plan like I did not pick the hard races first, because I don't want a race which has a lot of tough terrain, a tough weather, and too far away from India, so many hours of lack of sleep, and which is high on budget, everything. And then you are away from work for so many days. So don't take up things which are extremely challenging right at the start. The easier ones where, for example, I took a race which was a flat course, which did not have a flat course is very fast, and you don't have to worry about terrain. So at least that parameter was less for me. So that was my focus was to finish a 42K. So I picked a race which is completely flat. If I had picked a race which was hilly right at the start, then I wouldn't have been able to achieve the 42K. I would have been really scribbling about. So that kind of a plan I've done where, um, yeah, it was a flat course, and it was not extremely cold. Like I've also
Very good.
raced in temperatures 4 degrees, 4 to 3 degrees also. But I didn't
Okay.
first race as 4 to 3 degrees. That was my seventh or eighth race where it was extremely cold temperature. So there is a good amount of acclimatization training you need to do with the terrain, with the weather, with the food. So it has to be done gradually. So your goal, as you do the goal setting, it is achievable by doing.
Okay. See, distance running is all about mental toughness. Your body is crying to you to stop, asking you to stop due to fatigue, pain, so many things, and your mind is pushing your body along. How important is mental toughness for distance running?
Yeah, it's all about mental toughness. In addition to physical fitness will be there, but for example, in a full marathon, if you're not, you most of the time mental in the second half. You may have maybe physically strong, but it's your mind which has started giving up. And then you hit the wall. They say 32 kilometers is hitting the wall. If and it is extremely important to be stuff. Um, but it doesn't work the other way also, where lack of training, but you're saying that I want to do this, I want to finish it at any cost, but you're not trained sufficiently.
Train yourself,
Then
yes.
that would be, it has to be along with
Yeah.
training.
So you mean to say mental toughness has to, you need to train yourself to be tough during your practice itself. With that training, you'll be able to do in the actual race.
Yeah, so I did a mistake like in my first for half marathon, which I did with proper training. I had gone to Mumbai marathon, and there was this point where I had trained well, but somebody, I know that this is the pace at which I should stick. I should not jump beyond this pace. But somebody on the route said that this is a downward sloping road. You need to just go push yourself all out, because this is the opportunity to go faster. And somehow many started doing that around me, and I got into it, and I ran like a 400-meter athlete on a slope in half marathon. So that was a big mistake. I could actually feel the tear in my muscles, in my knee muscles. It was my first
Okay.
train race. So there is a particular pace at which you have trained, and you know this is the pace at which you're going to go for a marathon. So understanding your body, listening to it, and then mentally strong. But
Okay.
with this, given that this understanding is there,
Okay. They
works
say
well.
no, in a tough race, it's not always about the destination. It's always about the journey. You need to be mindful of being one step at a time, which is what we call as mindfulness. How important is mindfulness in distance running?
Yeah, so it's all about mindfulness, because you need to be really focused, and need to know, like I said, understanding the body, listening to the body, and it's a meditative state kind of. When you're running, there is a the you do a small mistake in that entire 40 minutes, you can just it can deter you from, I mean, you can go away from your goal if you do a mistake. So got to be fully attentive about a lot of parameters, like um, there is the space which you are watching, there is your breath which is happening, you're understanding that am I feeling fatigue, too much fatigue, do I need to take an energy drink at this point, or do I need to have a salt tablet right now, do I need to take a gel at this point? It's all planned, and but I need to remember that these are the points at which every 5 kilometers, this is my diet intake, and every 10 kilometers this is what I will do. And I need to also watch my pace, that I need to be doing the first 5 in this pace, second in this pace, and I cannot definitely drop beyond this pace. It's a lot of mindfulness, awareness, and focus. So it is definitely a mindfulness running.
Fantastic. They say no, the distance runners experience this kind of mystical sensation called runner's high. Why? Because after a period point of time, when you cross that threshold, you cross that blind wall, then your something takes over you, and you are able to complete the race easily, and you are in that sense of that runner's high, where you feel that something is taking you. You don't feel that initial thing. That's what the most a lot of runners have described. Have you experienced this kind of sensation?
Yeah, it's very common. Every time I break my personal record,
Okay.
it's amazing. So like my first marathon, London Marathon, I was really nervous. Like if somebody talks to me at the start line, I would just jump. I would just jump. I was very scared because that was a cold temperature, and I did not know how I will run in a foreign country like this, and um, without wearing a sweater and a jacket and a cap, like which we normally are used to wearing in. Suddenly it gets cold, I'm going to get under the blanket, and I'm going to cover myself. And there I was out there in the open, and that to a distance like 42 kilometers. um, it was really nervous. I didn't believe. I didn't know. I thought that maybe I'll walk and do a finish. Probably I don't know. I really did not have the confidence. But and I also had the fear of 32 kilometers is the hitting the wall. I know that most runners hit the wall at 32K. So I was going very conservatively in the entire distance. And the last 8 kilometers, I did the fastest. Like I ran like a 5 kilometer runner, 5 kilometers fast on the track. It was that fast. So I had conserved so much of energy towards the last, that I pushed, and I finished with a very good time. And when I finished, I realized that what did I do? I mean, this is something I never imagined doing. So it was like a big. I could just. It was. Yeah, I was teary, and I could. It was a very emotional moment for me. And
Great.
same thing happened in Chicago. Chicago
Very
was
nice.
also amazing. Chicago was when I was a period when I had a huge workload at office, and I had night shift, and I used to still do my long runs and still did the hard workouts at the gym, and one day before the race, I was in the office doing meetings with my colleague in Chicago, and I was working till late, and then I went into the race, but I have done my personal best ever in that race. And I know there was this, there is this, suddenly you get this magical, like my dad was somewhere, and telling me that I need to finish this race. So it was like
Oh,
magical, and there were these magical moments that just come, and they said, you can do it, you can finish it. And I actually finished it so beautifully. I couldn't believe it myself.
okay. See, many take to running and later on quit due to lack of discipline, unable to take up the challenges, then unable to come out of their comfort zone. Um,
Yeah.
what tips would you give them? because they start with a lot of josh and with a lot of vigor, but only to quit in the end. And that they are not able to discipline themselves, not able to get up early, come out of the comfort zone, then not able to take up the challenges, the what do you call the stress that would put on their body, the pain, the strain, whatever you call it. What would you tell them? I've seen a lot of runners take up running and then giving up. Uh, what would be your word of
Yeah.
advice to them?
So every time somebody asks me this, my it would be one answer that whatever you do, you are a corporate woman, you are a businesswoman or businessman working with an IT company. Apart from doing that as a main work, you got to pick up a hobby like this, passion for fitness. And when you pick that any passion, be it fitness or any other passion, if it is helping the community, the passion such that you are also able to benefit the community, and that means that what you have learned in terms of fitness and passion, you are able to translate it back to the community and seeing them benefit out of it by giving somebody who really needs that kind of help from the knowledge that you gain from a personal trainer or from doing these fitness activities, somebody benefited and who actually needed it so much. And the transformation that you see, the way your power grows in terms of handling challenges, in terms of disciplining yourself, it is magical. It is huge impact. So
What
that
would
is
you tell the
something that
quitters?
I would.
What would you tell the quitters? They take to running and then they quit because they don't want to get up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning. They want to sleep for some more time. What would you tell quitters? How can they remotivate themselves so that they continue this activity?
So, in terms of motivation, there are several things. Like for me, what works for as motivation is a group. A group definitely helps me because you will see what the group is doing, and you will challenge yourself. There will be variety in what you're doing. Add variety into what you're doing. It's doing the same thing every day. Just taking your shoes, going out running every day, same thing is not going to anybody will get bored. So, a lot of variety should be there.
Yeah,
A lot
yeah,
of friends should be around to
yeah,
motivate you. And
yeah,
yeah, you need to be good. You need to
yeah.
have a good
Very good.
coach. Uh, yeah, so that's very important.
Very good. Now, India is a land of the youth. How can running help the youth such that India becomes a superpower in future? I've heard that running changes lives. That's what I heard. That's what I've read. Many people have shared the experiences with me, and you are a live example in front of me. How India is a land of youth. There's so much youth power in this country. Why should the youth take to running, and how will they? How will it improve the quality of their life, and how will they take the country forward? Now that there's a lot of fad, though, the vogue is on Fit India movement, and running is a part of the Fit India movement.
So, firstly, I would tell all the youth out there that appreciate the Indian ancient tradition, the ancient Indian values, and the Fit India movement started way back with Adi Yogi, our Shiva, so 10,000 years ago. And there's a huge culture of yoga, Ayurveda in our country. So appreciate that. Learn about what was Bhagavad Gita. What did Krishna talk about Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and how these kind of things, which yogic activities, along with spiritual activities and philosophy, how it makes India rich in so many of these things which are valuable to our culture. Learn about that, and when and take up something like running in addition to that. With the current pandemic, it will help you holistically, keeping your mind and body fit. And you should be able to also be ambassador for Indian culture or traditions, and you should not just be adopting something which is westernized all the time. You should also be able to talk how much we have got from our own culture, and how
Yeah.
it is
My
benefiting
my
the Fit India
yeah,
movement.
my question was, how will running specifically help them? What are the takeaways from running, distance running?
So running, definitely for me, it was a meditative thing that it
Mm,
gives me time spending more. Normally, we are on the phone watching television, or we are talking to some co-workers or spending time at movie theaters. So now when you're running, it just takes you away from those things which are not may not be really full value for your time. So you need to then running gives you me time to just think and reprioritize what is important, what is not important, and it keeps and just that's important. Make time for yourself.
Yes. It's all about time management. It's also for physiological and psychological benefits. Yes, definitely. Thank you. How has your daughter taken to all this? How old is she now, and what are her future aspirations? Would you like to her to follow in a mother's route, or what aspirations she has got for herself? How much she's on to sports, or what is her talent?
So my daughter is now 17 years old, and she's very much interested in design and creative work. So I just tell her, you don't need to be a doctor, engineer. You pick what you wish to, but whatever you do it with passion. And whenever we go for races, she accompanies us, fully understands what parents are into and how it has benefited them, and she's very appreciative of the fact. Feels very proud of it. And she also did the Boston Marathon with us last year. She
Wow.
did her first 5 kilometer international race, and she's interested in sports. But I tell her that there is it's never too late. I started at 35, so you can pick it up at a time when you think that you are not you are ready now. So there is no pressure on her to you should start right now or things like that. So she's very much appreciative of the fact.
Great. Have you noticed that running has helped you in many ways? Your daughter?
Sorry,
Have you noticed that
can
running
you
has
repeat?
helped her? Yeah. Have you noticed that running has helped your daughter in many ways?
So she does a lot of cross training, cycling and swimming. So that yeah, so fitness definitely she has there's improved focus, alertness is there. Then there is a lot of friendships and social network that she has seen the
Yeah.
benefits.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Now, how did you help the community during this COVID pandemic lockdown? You also mentioned a few things in the beginning, but what kind of work you did with them? We helped the runners to train at their homes, and you were also mentioning that runners all over India did their marathons from home, from within their homes, during lockdown period. How did you reach out to the running community, and how did you help them? And how you yourself trained during the
Thank you.
lockdown when you were not allowed to go out and do the long distance running?
So I have in the pandemic. So by November, I had finished my world marathons. So I had actually I did not have plan a marathon for myself. So there was no race right now to for me to or for anybody else to sign up and then train for the race. So the best thing right now to do for most people, we are doing functional training, strength training, lot of stretching, and a little bit of cardio if you can go out walking and running. So with COVID, this is what we did in terms of supporting the community. Most of the athletes that I train are visually impaired, and they are from different parts of the country, and they have our phone numbers, and we have paid them with guides. So a guide is one. So we cannot have I cannot take a Zoom session with 20, 30 people on the other side who are blind. It may not work out because they will not understand what I'm. Some may be partial blind, some may be 100. So the same method we use for regular people may not work. So that's why the 1:1 pairing, and they do 1:1 yoga or a functional assessment with them on the phone. So we have designed a certification program by which people can do virtual emergency support guide work on the phone. So this is virtual is on the phone or on a video. So this is a certification program which is 4 weeks. Every Saturday we have a session on what can you do in terms of your first phone call. On the phone phone, we are doing a wellness check. Like I said, that do you have enough food? Do you have enough? Is the water clean? Do you have medicines? Are you in a place which is safe? And some people they come with coming back and telling us that I don't have medicines, I do not have groceries, because they have phone numbers. They have our phone numbers. We have about 800 to 900 athletes across India. Each one is already paired in non-COVID time. Each one is paired with a runner to run with them. Now in COVID, they don't have food to eat. So where is the question of running right now? Uh, so we said we decided we need to add the wellness element into it, and so each person would start by doing a wellness assessment to understand that if a red flag is identified, then we go to rehab professionals from these NGOs like Blind People Association, National Association, Blind Delhi, Ahmedabad. In each city, we have these kind of NGOs who have specialized rehab for people. To, like somebody identify the abuse case, then the rehab for abuse would take over. That kind
Thank
of
you.
rehab. Yeah.
Thank you. So I have to ask you this question: what next? What bigger dreams that are yet left to be unfulfilled from your side? What is your next target, or what are your future aspirations? How would you like to help people, and what's coming in the future?
So what's coming is that when we started doing this COVID support and started working with others, we realized that it is not going to. I will say that from Bangalore, I'm doing this. There is somebody else doing in another city. It's not going to work with disconnected set of volunteers are doing in small parts, because the people who need help are in millions. We are talking huge numbers. So a community level initiative is required at ground level, at every community level. So we are coming out with a community initiative where people from different community like in a city, in different parts of the towns and villages, they can all come and contribute as kindness champions. And so we are having a set of programs where how do you go about an act of kindness, from a simple act of kindness to a community level act of kindness. What are the things you can do? And that I want to make an impact on a larger community level across the country, and that is the objective right now, and we're working towards it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, thank you, Mrs. Bhumika Patel. Thank you. It was very nice having you on the show. I appreciate your time and I congratulate you again for all the achievements you have done. I wish you all the very best for your future endeavors, and may you help the tribe grow bigger and make distance running a household activity. So, I wish that every person in this country, every youth should take up this activity and make this country very strong. Okay. Thank you very much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you, viewers, for all of you who have come on the show. I hope you enjoyed listening to Mrs. Bhumika Patel, and you are inspired by what can running do to people. And if you have not yet to start distance running, you better start from tomorrow. Thank you very much. With this, we come to the end of this talk show. Good evening.